Hey everyone, so the second part of exercise 9 is to create a model of the previous sheet that you did. We're going to create a model, and I'm going to be using this material here. Um, it's actually packaging cardboard from Amazon that I got, or FedEx, I'm not sure, but it has no stickers on it or anything. So, and I cut it down to a manageable size here. I think this is, if I measure it, it's 11 by, I think I cut it down to 11 by 17, something like that. So what we want to do is we want to cut six inch by 6 inch squares of this material. Six inch by 6 inch squares. The first layer, and think of those, when you cut those squares, think of those as right as layers. So you're gonna have 6 of them, right? The first layer is gonna be the ground in our model, and then the other 5 layers are gonna be stacked on top of each other to create that image. So what you wanna do first is, in my case, I tape this down. It's probably best to tape it down because you first have to measure some lines, right? And put some guidelines, because then you're gonna cut against those guidelines. So you're going to use your 2H. You're going to make sure it's sharp, and you're going to tape this down, making sure this is straight, just like a piece of paper, right? And if you have a T-square or the parallel line, that's what you're going to use. But you're not going to cut on that, right? You're not going to cut on a triangle. I'm just laying out guidelines for the cutting. So if I need to make six inch by 6 inch squares, I want to obviously be as efficient as I can with the board. So I'm just going to measure off the top of my head here 6 inches high. And then, got to put a mark there, right? And then I know one of these sides is straight, which is the left side. I am going to mark 6 and 6, right? Because that'll at least give me 2 squares, so there's 12. Let's see if I can get another 6 inch here, can I? I can't. It's short of 6, so you might want to keep that in mind when you're cutting this. I can only get 2 squares here. I don't think I can probably get another square up there, no, because it's 11. So I'm going to only be able to yield 2 squares out of here. So, and that's okay. You're just going to have to cut another board. So, but I want to make guidelines first. So let's make the guideline going across. It's got to make sure you lift the T-square or the straight edge, and then I have to draw a guideline. I'm going to draw it kind of dark here because I want to see what I'm cutting. Spin that pencil just like you would, all right, on a piece of paper. Now I'm going to bring this down. There's my line. That's 6 inches from there to there. Double check it if you want. Now I know this is straight, that left side, so I got my mark where the 6 is. That's 1, and then there's 2. So there's 1, 2 boxes. I need 4 more, right? So I'll do that. I'll cut all those out, but I want to focus now on cutting these 2 out. I know this side is straight, and I know that bottom is straight. By the way, you have to make sure that 2 sides are straight, right? Whether you cut the bottom and cut the left side or right side, to make it straight, you got to make sure you start with a straight edge, right, on the bottom and the top. So I have a straight edge on the bottom and I have a straight edge on the left side. So now I'm going to pull down the straight edge or your T-square. All right, I'm going to untape this. All right. Okay, now You can put your pencil to the side. Right now you need what? We need a self-healing cutting mat, right? This one is kind of nice. I think it is actually, this might be 18 by 11 or 18 by 12, but as you can see that it's not as, it's almost just as big as this, so you got to be really careful. The other thing I want to say before I go further is you don't want to cut, of course, right? Remember I keep saying it's on the instructions too. You don't want to cut on your board, any of the board material, because that knife that you're going to be using, I have 3 of them here. I think I showed you these, but I have 3. I don't know if I'm going to use the big one for this, but I have 3 of them. You don't want this knife to be cutting on the board. That would be terrible. You just don't want to do that on any surface that's wood. So you have to have this self-healing mat. You need it because you're going to ruin your surface if you cut on it. You don't want to do that. So now that I got this self-healing mat, and I do know I have 2 squares here, right? I have this square, and then I have this one that I want to cut out, these 2. So, but I drew this horizontal line going all the way across. So in my mind, the first cut would be what? This horizontal line going all the way across. So I'm going to have to angle this because I want to make sure that when I cut, I'm cutting on the mat here and the mat here. I don't want to go on this board. What could solve this problem is get a bigger self-healing cutting mat, of course, right? But this will do. So what I need to get now, I think I'm going to use this bigger one. Just got to be careful, right? I would bring it out just one. You don't take it all the way out, or if you got an X-Acto blade, that's something different, right? The X-Acto blade, but this is a retractable one. So I'm going to leave it like that, kind of, and then you tighten this for this big one, and then the other ones, they just extract out. You don't want to extract it that far, but just extract it, and then you cut. I'll show you how to cut, but just make sure, obviously, whenever you're cutting with sharp blades, that you're aware of that, whether it's sticking out or not. So I'm going to be using this big blade. So now I need to cut this board, right? So what do I need from the materials list that we have to have is a straight edge to cut against. The blade's got to cut against, right? It has to. So what I'm going to do here, and this is a long straight edge. You can get a smaller one. It's got a cork back so it doesn't slide. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring this over to the line. You want to make sure that you leave your line on your pencil line. So right there and right there. And I'm ready to cut. I just want to make sure that the self-healing mat underneath, because it's kind of short, it's not that big, I want to make sure that the self-healing mat is right underneath when I start my cut, or I'm going to cut through that board, which I don't want to do. And then at the end here, I want to make sure the self-healing mat is underneath. So very important. You got to hold down the straight edge, and always, I've done this a couple times. You got to keep your fingers away from this edge. You can imagine what's going to happen if you don't. You'll end up slicing that, and I've done it, and I've seen students do it. So please be very careful when you're holding down this straight edge, and you have to put pressure down on it to actually make sure that the blade goes up against it. Okay, so now that we have all this set, and my straight edge is not on the line, you can see the line, so it's a little bit down, and we're cutting this part away, this part, and we're going to cut these two squares down here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this down, and I'm going to take this blade, right, but I want to be over at 90. Let me bring this over so you can see. I want to be over at 90 degrees. I don't want to be on an angle like this. I don't want to be tilted in. I want to be right over it on a 90. And this material here is corrugated inside, so it's going to probably take a couple passes to go through. So, but the important thing is to hold this down. If you don't hold the steel straight edge down, it could slip on you. So you got to be a little bit forceful. So I'm going to go through it. You can hear the corrugations being cut, right? So you can slide your hand down. I'll move this up. It might take one pass. You don't have to press too hard, but I'm going to go through it again. Holding it down. Since this is relatively thin, it might just take two passes. Holding it down, shifting it. Always making sure that your fingers aren't close. And then just make sure you close that up or put it to the side so you don't get that edge. And then this is the part you take away, and you can see the corrugated parts in there. Now, here's the square one with the line, right, and square two. So either or, I can cut this line first or that line first. It really doesn't matter at this point. So, but just make sure you're cutting not on a line, right? You're going to show the line. So here, I'd probably rather I'm going to cut this so I'll have the two squares. So again, I'm going to show the line here. That looks good. Now I'm going to take my blade, making sure, holding it down, keep your fingers away. Now when you're going against the, when you're going parallel to the corrugated, it's going to be a little bit easier to cut. You can see I'm straight. I'm not on an angle. I'm straight above. And it's going to cut right through right now like that. Really nice and sharp. And you could see that I was straight on the blade. If I was on an angle, this cut here would be on an angle or a bevel. So here are my two pieces. This is, in theory, right, this is 6 by 12, right? Because I got two pieces. I want them to be each 6 by 6, and I'm going to cut this right in the middle. Let's do that. I want to be, there's the line. Let me bring this down a little bit so you can see here. Just bring this down a tad. See that line a little bit. I want to see the line. I don't want to not see the line, right? I want to see that line. So from there to there, that looks good. Now I'm going to hold that down, keeping your fingers away, always. This one should be relatively easy because it's short length, right? Just make sure you're 90 degrees, not on an angle like that, not on an angle towards me. And always the blade up against the straight edge. That one kind of went smooth, right? Kind of nice. So here are two. Put this over here. Here are two nice 6 by 6 pieces. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut. Nice. You can tell if you put them together. I'm going to go ahead and cut 4 more because we need. Do we say 6? I forgot. Did I say 6? 1? No. 5. 5. We need 5 of these. One is going to be 5 of these. We need 5 6 by 6s. One is going to be the base, and then the other 4 are going to be stacked on top of each other. We're going to have to cut, obviously, the other 4 to the shape, whatever shape you picked, or that composition you picked, and we're going to glue them on top of each other. It's going to be like a layering. I'll do that in the next video, but I'll have all these 6 cut, and then we'll go on to the next step.